You are listening to Practical and Woo by Mindset and Manifest. My name is Eden, and I invite you to embark on a journey with me to explore the practical and spiritual edges of the unknown for the purpose of allowing you to embody and empower yourself uniquely as you are, and to intentionally create and live a life of freedom and fulfillment. Each week, I am going to discuss topics such as energetics, reality creation, manifestation, astrology, tarot, and more to help empower you to live beyond perceived limitations and to practically design your life so it feels like absolute magic every step of the way. Let's dive in. Well, hello, brilliant soul. There is a very specific kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to become a better version of yourself, especially when the vehicle to your expansion comes through constant self-correction. Things like monitoring your tone, adjusting your reactions, or making note of how you may self-edit, replaying conversations over and over again in your head, rehearsing better ones, and even more than that, quietly carrying the sense that if you could only get your behavior right, then your life would finally begin to reflect the version of you that you know you are capable of being. For so many of us, this disciplined exhaustion becomes a lifelong strategy to develop ourselves. And this is exactly what I want to unpack today, because there's a structural flaw inside of the strategy that I think is important to name. When we meet ourselves with this kind of contempt and abrasion or judgmental force, we're actually meeting ourselves at a layer of our experience that isn't necessarily the layer that impacts the creation of our own reality. It's not our behavior that creates our reality, because behavior is simply a symptom or demonstration of what is happening deeper under the surface, which is your broadcast. When I say broadcast, I'm referring to the vibrational or energetic system that is operating within you at all times. And this is the system that is shaping your experience. Your broadcast is the combination of 4 categories in particular that shape your awareness. And these categories include your self-concept, or who you believe you are, your expectations, as in what you assume will happen, your emotional set point, or the habitual feelings or emotions that you feel about the world, and your perception, which is the lens in which you see the world, including what you notice and what you dismiss and what you make things mean. This system is always active, and it doesn't wait for your conscious permission to begin shaping your experience. It just shapes your experience. And when we become invested in trying to manage our behavior by trying to say the right words and do the right thing, hold back when we actually desire to speak up, we aren't actually tending to our broadcast. So even if we manage to override 1 or 2 or 3 of our reactions in a moment, the underlying pattern creating the urge to have that reaction is still present and likely only delayed. Most of us assume then that we're doing the work when we're actually catching ourselves and editing ourselves. And many of us convince ourselves that when we edit ourselves in this way, with such a fine-tooth comb, we're refining and evolving. And sure, such attention to detail is evidence of a blooming self-awareness. But the gap is that the self-awareness here is limited to behavior and not to the true root of what is holding us back. And from this place, the most we can become is highly skilled at managing the expression of our pattern without ever overcoming the pattern itself. Let's say, for example, you are in a conversation with someone that you care about, and you interpret something that they say as rejection. During this conversation, your nervous system receives your experience, which has been filtered through your broadcast. So if your self-concept carries the belief that you're someone who is easily misunderstood or rejected, then the comment you're responding to already won't feel neutral. Your system will consume this as evidence and it will automatically land sensitively. Your expectation then chimes in, asserting that this is how it always goes with friends or other people. And your emotional set point activates feelings of contraction, defensiveness, urgency, or even withdrawal. From here, your perception narrows, scanning the tone and the phrasing, allowing the experience to be confirmed by the meaning that your system has already assigned. And I want to be clear because if someone says to you something truly heinous or horrendous, then this is not an invitation to discredit that it was truly heinous or horrendous. And if your self-concept and your interpretations aren't cleared, then it will be difficult to discern if this is happening or if this is what is happening. Now, from the layer of your behavior, you might feel urged to correct your loved one. In the example, let's keep it to your loved one said something that you perceive as rejection, but it was your perception and not actually something truly horrendous or heinous that was said. And so you might feel reactive and you might react to this loved one and become sharp or overly explanatory. You might even want to withdraw. And only later, after having time to settle and reflect, you might have the hindsight to look back and wish that you handled things differently. When we view things from the layer of our broadcast, we can understand that our behavior is always its natural consequence. So if you're feeling nitpicky about your own behavior in situations, you can begin to see where it's the broadcast that needs to change first. From this lens, instead of asking, why did I say that? Or how do I stop doing that? You're able to allow yourself to notice what had to have felt true for you in that particular moment for that behavior to arise. Because every reaction you have is attempting to protect, secure, stabilize, or confirm something. Every behavior is adaptive, emerging from a version of you that is trying to navigate the world based on what it and you believe is true. And the good news here is that if you can understand the adaptive intelligence that lies underneath your behavior, even and especially the parts of yourself you have the most difficult time accepting, then you can source the broadcast that led to it, and you can then change the conditions that make that particular pattern necessary for you. And what I'm about to say now is important because your broadcast doesn't, won't, and can't change by forcing it to change. But it does change by noticing. Noticing what your default assumptions about yourself and the world around you have been and continue to be. Noticing what your expectations are, especially when you're lacking clarity or feeling uncertain. Noticing what feels inevitable to you. Noticing the emotional tones that your body returns to without effort. And from here, you can begin to see that your assumptions are not fixed truths, but simply practiced states. So, when we talk about shifting your broadcast, we're not talking about overriding yourself in the moment so that you can perform your behavior better or differently. We are instead talking about working with the layer of you that determines what feels normal to you in the first place. If being and feeling understood is normal to you, then you don't brace yourself in the same way. If stability is normal to you, then you won't scan for inconsistency. And if these things haven't been normal to you, you can always cultivate a practice where they become your normal. We are no longer trying to insert new behavior into an old system of existing. We are instead embracing our new broadcast so that our behavior becomes a natural byproduct of who we already are. In practice, this looks like catching yourself when you're telling a story or an old assumption. When this happens, invite yourself to momentarily stay with it. Feel the emotions that are activated by it. This will look like letting yourself see your old experience clearly without trying to rush it or push past it. And then from this place, you can introduce a new possibility. And over time, through repetition, your new way of being begins to feel less like something you're trying to be and more like something you can stand confidently within. From here, you will no longer have to feel like you're bracing to fix yourself because you will be meeting yourself instead. And it won't feel like effort in the same way because it's not coming from a place of management, but instead from alignment. Please know that you were never meant to become someone by policing yourself into that behavior or identity. You are, however, designed to evolve into your free will governed destiny by choosing the broadcast in which you emit into your world. And your broadcast is responsive to your attention, shaped by what you repeatedly return to, and stabilized by what you allow to feel normal. The invitation I have for you today is not to become perfect in your behavior, but to become precise in your awareness and noticing. Allow yourself to notice your assumptions and your expectations. Pay attention to what you are rehearsing emotionally and consider what you are making things mean, because this is the level from which your life is being formed. And when you start working at this level, change stops feeling like something you have to force and starts feeling like something that unfolds because it finally has the right conditions to do so. Until next time.